Fans too. Yes. TD Ameritrade Park, where Steve and I are not really taking a day off. It's a work day, Steve. I went out to practice this morning, talked to Coach Chris Lamonis, a couple of players. You've been working on other material, and you've been circling around here. Now that you've been here a couple of days, Steve, how's the Omaha experience going for you as a first-timer?
It is the greatest college sporting event that I have ever been to. And it's not just because of the play of the teams. It's the atmosphere of the fan base. And they're, like you say, David, everybody's just so happy to be here. You meet fans. I bet that I've seen probably 50 different college programs represented by their fans.
Some we didn't even know had a baseball program.
Well, I met a South Dakota State fan, and we had them at Duty Noble Field. He did not make that trip, but tells me he has been here 9 of the last 10 years because he loves college baseball. And, college baseball, a little less angst, a little less resentment, but it's been a great experience. And being out here in the games that we're not covering, just to kind of be around there's so many great college baseball fans that want to talk baseball, and they really love talking about these Mississippi State Bulldogs.
And the Bulldogs have much to talk about after last night's 5-4 comeback victory. Down 4-1 at the bottom of the ninth, they pulled off the first 4-run walk-off comeback since 2008 when another SEC team, LSU, did it. So a rare event here. You'd think so many things like this would happen in Omaha, but when so many good teams get together, games like that just don't happen often. The Bulldogs did it. Talking to Tanner Allen today, he said there was never any doubt in their mind once they got on the field in the ninth that they could do it again. 28th comeback victory for the Diamond Dogs, so they've earned their way to stay in the winner's bracket. Now they match up tomorrow, 6 o'clock start time Central with Vanderbilt, a rematch of the SEC tournament. But as Coach Chris Lamonis said, nothing like that game because he had two aces throwing tomorrow. Vanderbilt coming back with their flash freshman, Kumar Rocker, coming off the first no-hitter in Super Regional history. Mississippi State with Peyton Plumlee, a guy who didn't begin the season as a starter, but has become arguably State's best postseason starter so far, even better than Ethan Small.
You can certainly make that argument. He has the clinching win in the regional against Miami and the clincher against Stanford. And both games, I think you could argue, the best games of his college career. And, David, it'll be interesting to see how he handles the emotions. He was not part of this last year. He has never towed the rubber here at TD Ameritrade, and so that'll be a new experience. But we talked to him last night. We know how fired up he is, but he's also a senior. He's your veteran. He understands how to kind of manage his emotions, and I think he is the right matchup. That's one thing people have asked. The way that Peyton Plumlee can get under barrels and get that sinker ball working with a free-swinging team like Vanderbilt, it's kind of predicated on a long ball, just like Miami was, and Stanford to a certain extent. Peyton is the right matchup, and I expect him to have a big ball game.
And as Coach Lamonis said this morning as well, Peyton Plumlee, also because when he's sinking the ball, he's very good, but he's especially good against left-handed batters, and Vanderbilt is going to run a bunch of southpaws out there to swing from that side. So, of course, now today, we just watched Texas Tech rally to beat Arkansas, 4 home runs hit. I don't want to hear the narrative anymore that this ballpark is too big. Home runs are now taking over. State had none last night. Auburn sure as heck had a home run when Edward Julien just crushed one out, the second longest home run ever hit in this ballpark since it opened in 2011. But the field is reachable. But Mississippi State is not a home run team. They're a gap-to-gap team, scratch it out, grind it out. Vanderbilt is going to throw a great pitcher, but sometimes you wonder about a guy coming off a fabulous performance as a freshman. Can he duplicate it here on this stage?
Not to mention the moment itself is awfully big. And listen, Vanderbilt's never been here with this team. Right. They haven't been here in 3 years, and so it's one of the – Mississippi State's got the Omaha experience. Vanderbilt, for that whole roster, their first experience was setting foot on this field. We mentioned Fellows, a guy that Mississippi State fans should know pretty well. I've seen him a couple times now. That was his first time to ever pitch here. And so how much of that will factor in, we'll see. But, these two teams – they've got a pretty decent rivalry going. They come to Starkville last year and they sweep Mississippi State. State wins the Super at Nashville, keeps the Commodores out of Omaha. That's fresh in their minds. And then, of course, the 1-0 ball game that boiled down really. Roddy Jordan just didn't see a ball off the bat, lost it in the lights, and the ball falls in, and it's a 1-0 ball game. Mississippi State could not get the timely hit. Struggled with that last night, David, but in the ninth inning, more than a couple timely hits for the Bulldogs. They eke out that win to stay in a winner's bracket.
Of course, Mississippi State will be matching up the offense, but really at this point, there's not many moves they can make. They'll probably look at what they do with the designated hitter. You look last night, they of course start with Gunnar Halter to get the matchup, but then they're able to switch the end of the game to Josh Hatcher, and he gets the key in so many ways, little number that Julian just can't quite handle after he had booted another play when he's trying to be perfect in ball. Don't be perfect, just make the play there. As you find out, it cracked the door for Mississippi State. State batted through the order in the ninth inning, which is something incredible just in and of itself. Got the big plays. Marshall Gilbert gets the walk-off hit off the pitcher's mitt for State to win that game and stay in the winner's bracket, which at this tournament matters so much more because it allows you to keep your pitching on some sort of schedule. Now, the weather forecast for tomorrow is not very promising. It looks like there will certainly be rain sometime in the midday. State does not play until the evening, but if it throws off the first game, you could see some time rain, so we advise fans to keep an eye on it. But, Steve, I was at the pep rally yesterday before the game. Not as big a crowd as a year ago, but that was sort of expected because last year everybody wanted to ride the momentum of the Rally Banana and all that. They packed it in because they didn't expect a long stay. They expect to be here this year, so I imagine there's a whole lot of State fans out there who will be watching this who still haven't quite pulled the trigger on coming to Omaha. My advice, get here, because no matter how tomorrow's game turns out, you feel good about it hanging around for a couple more contests at least. And this is a team that's proven it can come back and even win its way through if they get behind. So your recommendation, Steve, just tell them to get here.
No doubt about it. Not to mention, too, if Mississippi State survives the weekend, they'll be playing for a national championship next week. That's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There are a lot of Mississippi State fans that have said, I'm going to wait and see if they make the finals. Well, there's going to be a big rush for tickets, and there's not a lot of tickets left to be had, so you might want to go ahead and make your way here this weekend and begin to secure some ducats for the eventual championship series. Because, David, here's the deal. Mississippi State beats Vanderbilt tomorrow. They kind of control their own fate now. And we were in this position last year. I think that bitter taste of losing to the eventual national champion Oregon State will be enough to propel Jake Mangum and this ball team to a national championship series.
And however the game turns out, you've got to think that JT Ginn should be certainly ready and rested to go by the weekend if they choose to come back in that situation, or maybe go with a Keegan James who's thrown very well. Also, you could really approach it as a co-starter situation because after as many pitches he threw last night, it'd be very tough to bring Ethan Small back by a Friday game. You probably want to hold him in reserve now for this championship series if you can get that far. But at this point, it's a long summer. You know those guys are moving on. You're going to throw whatever arms you have available at this point. We saw this already between Auburn last night, running a starter out there in the ninth inning to try to close it down. To his bad luck, he couldn't. You've seen Arkansas and Texas Tech already use up a bunch of guys. Well, Arkansas's gone. By the way, a bunch of hotel rooms in Omaha just came open with the Razor Swine now headed home. But at this point, Coach Chris Lamonis and Coach Scott Foxhall, this is when you earn your money making those pitching decisions.
Absolutely, and I thought we handled it as well as we could last night. And Butch Thompson all in trying to win that ball game. Didn't work out for them. They're going to have to kind of come back on a short turnaround with some arms that are a little bit road weary after a long season. But the bottom line now, David, is it's up to Mississippi State now. There are no easy teams. There are no easy games. Every game's going to be tightly contested. Now it's time to find a way to push this team into that championship series.
So, Pharma, the off day, such as it is, here at TD Ameritrade Park. For Steve filing his material, we have a couple of videos up for practice today. I've just finished a game advance. We'll have a notebook up this afternoon. Robbie Falk is working on a piece, a retrospective on the 2018 Super Regional at Vanderbilt and how that plays into this. Of course, back home, Gene Swindoll and Paul Jones keeping track of football and baseball commitments and recruiting information. So still a work day for us, but we're enjoying it. And we want to thank our specialty cameraman. We went out and got top-tier talent to help us shoot this video, so we want to thank our University of Texas graduate, Tyler Horka. Yes, I saw a couple of Lone Star flags in the parking lot yesterday, so even the Longhorns are represented here at Omaha as well. So for our crew and our volunteer assistants here at TD Ameritrade Park in Omaha, Nebraska, at the 2019 College World Series, this is David Murray.